Over the short term, ecological communities are relatively stable, and the number and type of species stays relatively consistent. However, ecosystems and communities are dynamic systems and go through many stages as the community ages over years or centuries. This change in community composition over time is called ecological succession. We can best talk about succession by starting at the beginning. There are two types of succession: primary succession and secondary succession. Primary succession starts in an environment that has never been inhabited before. These areas include newly formed volcanic islands and areas recently covered by glacial ice. Once this area is uncovered, hardy, quickly reproducing species like lichen are the first to colonize this new environment. These species are called pioneer species. Lichens produce acids that break down rocks and form early soil. Eventually, there's enough of this soil for other species to move in. These species tend to be small, but still larger than the lichen. They outcompete the lichen and continue the work of producing deeper and more nutrient-rich soil. Eventually, larger trees move in as the soil becomes more habitable. These larger trees outcompete the shrubs and short trees that came in before it, and this forest of larger trees become what's called the final or climax community. These plants at each stage also bring along with them the animals, fungi, and microbes that live in them and feed on them. And the composition of these communities also change as succession progresses. The other type of ecological succession, secondary succession, happens after an area of land is cleared, either during a fire or other natural disaster, or after humans clear them for lumber and farming. Secondary succession happens in a similar pattern as primary succession, but starts with small grasses and other plants that use the soil that's there, instead of lichen on bare rock. Interestingly, much of the forests of New York and New England was once converted to agricultural land during the 18th and 19th centuries, but as the soil started to become less fertile, those farms were abandoned for land out west. Secondary succession took hold in these areas, and much of the forest that we see in New York and New England are actually secondary growth forests growing out of the abandoned farmland.